My name is Charlie Day. I'm a retired psychologist who grew up here in Des Moines but worked most of my life in California. And while out there, I got initiated into transcendental meditation and have been practicing some form of meditation ever since. Presently, I practice daily because I'm teaching a group here in Des Moines, the Des Moines Meditation and Mindfulness Group. And I encountered Buddhism, and I specifically say I'm teaching Buddhist philosophy now, not as a religion, but as a philosophy, as guidelines to living peacefully and harmoniously. I discovered really Buddhism when I participated in several retreats while working in Thailand and in India. I worked there as a therapist, but I took the opportunity to do retreats while there. And I learned about Buddhism systematically from revered teachers in those countries. More people are actually open to experiencing not only the practice of meditation, but also to the ideas of Buddhism. And that's evidenced by the fact that when I started the group in 1994, there were sometimes no participants. I'd be all alone waiting for somebody who wanted to meditate with me. But now there are 35 to 40 participants every Tuesday evening. The other noteworthy thing is that they've gotten younger over the years. So there's more of an interest now in simply everybody. And of course, the word meditation and mindfulness are now kind of buzzwords in the mainstream culture. So people are curious about that, and some of them come and then begin to come with some regularity. The reality is some come to find out what it's all about and may stop and come back and stop and come back before they begin a kind of regular practice, and they begin to come every week and even begin a daily or a couple of times a week of a half-hour practice or so at home. We've structured the meditation basically as a secular practice. And so we welcome persons from whatever religion they identify with, or no religion whatsoever. Meditation is at its primary base simply a learned relaxation practice, namely learned in the sense of requiring practice to train the mind to be a little bit more silent, a little bit quieter, not to pay so much attention to all its thinking. Buddhism is a prominent Asian religion, and there are many Buddhist temples actually here in Des Moines, generally reflecting the different ethnic makeup of the citizens that come from Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and they may have been here for the first time, or they may presently be first or second generation. Now that is the practice of Buddhism as a religion by the Asian community here in Des Moines. It's also practiced kind of as an identified religion by a Zen group which exists here in Des Moines, which has adopted some of the rites and rituals associated with the Zen practice of religion. And there's a practice in Ames, a group there, and I know all these people and have participated with them at times, who practice the Vajrayana or Tibetan tradition of Buddhism. I do a lot of readings and teachings from Buddhism as a philosophy. Basically, it is a philosophy, but it's a philosophy identified by Buddhists who practice it as a religion, as a kind of, if you will, the doctrine of religion. But it's an excellent philosophy. When I was in India and hearing about the systematic teachings of the Buddha and being a psychologist, I concluded that he was really the founder of psychology. He really, all of his ideas that are presented for calming the mind, for training the mind, for overcoming negative habits and behaviors are simply were phrased in a different language, but coincided with all of those ideas that I had learned in my graduate training in psychology.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is. It was very fascinating to me. And I think our group is growing because of that sort of secular orientation, which anybody from any tradition can identify with. There's even a book now written by Paul Mitter. It's a very good book. He's a Catholic theologian at the Union Seminary in New York. And the title of the book is "Without Buddha, I Could Not Be a Christian." And it simply echoes the fact that there are a lot of individuals now that are identifying with dualistically, kind of with one or more religions, without feeling that they're betraying their own religion. Find a group in their area, or simply to go to our website, Des Moines Meditation, where I have lots of handouts for learning practices on your own without having to identify with a group. But I urge people, because there's practice with a group is kind of facilitating for a lot of people, to Google Buddhism and their own or meditation and their own community and find out what groups and activities are going on wherever they live. Well, peace means to me being able to sort of accept the reality, all of it, of what happens around you and in the world, with a kind of acceptance that enables you to deal with the problems in a more efficient, productive way, and without having to suffer too much in that process. The meditation practice that we teach is the universal breath practice. So all one does is simply find a comfortable sitting position, close the eyes to shut out visual distractions, maintain a good posture in order to minimize stress on the body, and then turn the attention to the breath. The mind will be spontaneously distracted by sounds, sensations in the body, most often simply by thoughts. It'll begin to wander and wander off to thoughts. So the instruction for the basic meditation is simply to sit comfortably, close the eyes, turn the attention toward following the sensations of breath as you experience those sensations in the nose, chest, or abdomen, and remember to return the attention to the breath each and every time it wanders away, which is the training in letting go of negative, unproductive thoughts and feelings and sensations. Otherwise, we tend to respond and react to them because we're kind of conditioned to respond. The effect is validated greatly by a group I teach at the Women's Correctional Institute in Mitchellville, the adult women's prison. We have a group there that gets about 15 persons every week now. And they report that practicing meditation over time has enabled them not to respond in a negative fashion to what they perceive as provocation or injustices and the continual stresses of living in a prison environment. They simply recognize negative feelings when they come up, sadness at missing their children, anger at whatever's happening around them, frustration with their situation, guilt about being there in the first place and missing their families. All of these negative feelings they recognize, and they realize that they can indulge them and create continued suffering or even more suffering. And they can react to the anger and get themselves into trouble. So they learn to recognize negative feelings and have a kind of choice of either reacting to them or letting them go, because it's not going to do any good to react to them. Well, it actually takes that kind of consistency, but because you are in effect training the mind to identify and let go of negative thoughts, feelings, and sensations. And that takes a practice. The mind is used to reacting immediately, taking those reactions seriously, which only produce further reactions. So what meditation does, so the more you practice, the greater that is learned. Although I might say that it varies considerably for different individuals. For some individuals, they may only practice a couple times a week or whatever, and they may get those insights rather quickly. Others, it takes a longer period of time. One individual I worked with, when she heard the idea that I was talking about, that thoughts don't exist in reality, thoughts exist as a result of memories or as a result of hopes and expectations regarding the future, that they have no substance in the present, in the now, in this reality of the present moment. It eliminated a couple of years of depression, immediately eliminated, because she had been depressed by thinking continually about the past, the negative experiences of the past. And she realized it wasn't necessary to keep reacting over and over and over to those experiences, which in effect existed only in the mind and were not present in the present. Well, my sort of motto regarding the generalization to peace, because in accepting what is, one is kind of spontaneously moved to recognize suffering wherever it exists, negative feelings, problems in the world, conflicts, whether they be individual, familial, national, worldly. It enables one to recognize and to strive and want to do something to enable more peace to exist. I have a Twitter site. I couldn't resist that at someone else's recommendation. And I call myself Peace Charlie because Charlie wasn't available. And the motto on that site is peace within through meditation and peace without through peace and social justice actions. Only that one of the values to me and others of meditating is that one doesn't have that inclination to want to ignore, deny, or run away from problems, from conflicts, from frustration, from all the negativity that realistically goes on in the world. One can be aware of it without having to run away from it. And moreover, one is kind of inspired to either do something about it, if that's possible, or to recognize that maybe nothing can be done right now. Well, I welcome any contacts from anybody who would like to talk more about meditation, about Buddhism, or about peace. And they can contact me at my email, which is charlesday, followed by the number 1, at mchsi.com, or through our website, www.desmoinesmeditation.org.